Hello everyone, tuning into live. We're going to get going here at 9 a.m. on the dot. And this is just an example of what we do on a daily basis. And I'll give a little bit of a rundown. So first thing, what we do is I wake up and go through the whiteboard updating our key levels on our commodities, a little bit of write-up on our key sectors and key individual names as far as what we're looking for in the short term. Generally, I'm using the hourly and the daily time frames to determine what is the most likely scenario. Are we looking for an hourly lower high on a bounce? Do we need to see an hourly trend change for the bulls to prove it to us? Things along those lines. Then we go into the MJ sector, got a bunch of MJ sector levels to be watching. And as far as the live stream is concerned, the routine is I am taking requests, a ticker per person in our Chart Guys community chat room. So I give the general rundown of where we stand, a couple plays that I am highlighting and watching this morning, and then I go through and from about 9:05, 9:10 to 9:30 until the bell rings, I go through and look at those ticker requests. And that's honestly how I get a lot of the plays that I look for, is because we have 30 plus tickers that people are looking at. And as I go through them, I highlight the ones where I like the setup. And so I haven't used a scanner to be looking for, tickers to trade any time in the last 5 years, because the chat room is the source of all of those tickers that I have interest in. And then from there, of course, we go through the trading day and we watch very closely at the different sectors, how they're interacting with each other, whether there's bull volume, bear volume, which individual names are standing out. And this is the screen that I keep up most of the time. This is my Fidelity Active Trader Pro dashboard. And I keep an eye on about 20, 25 different tickers here. And I trade as far as actually placing the orders on my other monitor to not show account numbers and all that stuff. But this week, I'm certainly going to be dialing it back a little bit, and I'll talk about that once we go live at 9 a.m. Eastern on the dot. See you in 4 minutes. All right, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, November 2nd, 9 a.m. Eastern. Certainly a very eventful week as we have the election coming up. And for me, honestly, that means pumping the brakes. There's no reason for me to be trading more aggressively in an event that takes place once every 4 years. I had a really good October, just going base hits day after day. And so for me personally, I will be scaling back my trading a little bit this week. Because again, if I'm looking at a decade-long grind that I'm trying to put together, this little event is a sign for me to be conservative. That being said, for you as an individual, it could be a time for you to go aggressive. And I certainly would not say that that's a bad idea. It all depends on you as an individual. So looking at the S&P 500 futures chart, we ended last week watching this hourly time frame, and this was the most important time frame for me. And essentially, as long as we were in this channel, this is all that I cared about. And obviously here pre-market, we're breaking it bullish. So at that point, I then zoom out and watch for the daily lower high because the daily bounce is now underway. We had a pattern of a lower high every day the last 5 days that has broken. So the question that we have now on all individual names, it's going to be, can the bulls change the daily trend to set weekly higher lows and form equilibriums? That's the question we have over the next week. Is the earnings reaction, is the market reaction to the election going to keep weekly equilibriums, or are we going to break support? And we need to see a big enough bounce on the daily time frame to create space for the daily trend change to indicate that the weekly higher low has been set. So the amount of follow through to start this week on this bounce will be important to me. And just looking at it comparative to SPY is going to be looking to break its high of Friday, 329.69 first thing. But again, we know we're just looking for a daily lower high because of how much control the bears had last week. What I need to see this week for the bulls to prove it to me, or what I need to see today, is an hourly trend change during regular trading hours. It's great that the bulls are going up during futures overnight last night into this morning, but I need to see it. If it's going to be proven to me, I need to see it when there's real volume at play during regular trading hours. So in general, and there's actually SPY giving it back, we might not even gap up open anymore. But in general, we do look for gap ups to be looking for aggressive bearish entries or to be taking some bull profit. Over the last few weeks, that has been pretty common. Any gap up, we don't see a ton of follow through. So in this instance, if we pull back this morning on SPY, I am viewing anything above the low of Friday as an hourly higher low. The best case scenario for the S&P 500 bulls and any individual name this morning is to pull back, set an hourly higher low compared to the low of Friday, and then break the high into the end of the day, closing strong. If we confirm an hourly trend change and close strong, then we know this bounce is going to look to have a little bit of follow through into tomorrow. If we do not see that, and if today we just slowly fade and we make our way back down and don't do anything to change the hourly trend, we know the bears still have complete control overall. Checking in on the dollar has been very strong over the last week, and we're watching the 4-hour uptrend here, which is very easily intact, holding the 12-period EMA support. If we lose the 4-hour uptrend, we zoom out, and we look for a daily higher low, and there's tons of space for that daily higher low to form. We are looking for the potential of a weekly trend change in the dollar, and we need a break of 94.74, which is less than 1% away. A weekly trend change in the dollar would be fairly notable, and again, we're seeing more and more where assets will care about the dollar for a short period of time and then they'll disregard it. But we know, generally speaking, the asset bulls want to see a weaker dollar. It's an easier bullish environment when that dollar is weak. So we can say things like the Bitcoin bulls are very pleased with how they've been trading the last week, even though the dollar has been bouncing the entirety of the last week. And the S&P 500 can't say that because we had a very bearish week last week. Looking at the metals are right now in the middle of the most important range for me, which is the question, can we form a weekly higher low? We have the low of this entire period of consolidation on gold at 1848. Can we hold that level and change the weekly trend back to the bulls by breaking 1934? And we are right in the middle of that range. We are currently about $40 above support, and we are currently about $40 below resistance, maybe a little bit more than that. So the daily time frame is going to get choppy as long as we are in this tightening weekly range. But those are the two levels that I care about. You can see we had a double top by $2. We held support by $12. And if we change this weekly trend back to the bulls, the odds of a monthly bull flag on gold will remain high. So how this weekly chart resolves, whether a bear break to lower lows or a weekly trend change, will be very meaningful. And if the bulls pull off a weekly trend change, I will absolutely get back into a gold swing position, which has gone well for me in 2020. And I will use the low as my stop, because at that point, the play is I'm entering bullish again for the monthly bull flag. And if we drop back down and break that support, then obviously I'm wrong and it's not a monthly bull flag playing out. Silver's the exact same scenario. We're in the middle of this range, the weekly chart. The bulls are trying to form a higher low compared to 2166, and we would have to break 2556 for that weekly trend change back in their favor. Miners. So miners on the hourly time frame, we got a gap up open, and we can say that pretty much anything above the low of Friday is an hourly higher low, same as SPY and same as a lot of individual names. And looking at it from the daily perspective, again, we know a daily lower high is the most likely scenario. The miners have already broken weekly support. The metals have not. And that's to do with the amount of weakness in the broader market yesterday, or I should say last week. So the monthly consolidation at this point on the miners, there's no major red flags. I would be surprised if it were a bull flag at this point, but it would be notable to me if the bulls can change the daily trend from here, because that would essentially be a break of weekly support straight into a daily trend change and a bounce, which generally means start looking in the opposite direction. Oil is trying to bounce as well after a clear support break last week, dropping to a lower low. I like the monthly equilibrium perspective on oil. High of pre-COVID, low of the dump, lower high, and we are scouting a higher, we are scouting a higher low compared to 25.31. This is the December futures contract that we are watching for now. And the 4-hour trend needs to change if we're going to see bounce follow through. And we're not going to say that the broader market has to see oil change its 4-hour trend and see bounce follow through for the broader market and for stocks to go up, but we know that that would help. So I keep an eye on it. And right now, I need a drink of water. So right now we have a clear 4-hour downtrend with EMA 12 resistance. And I would say on this current bounce, anything under 3660 is just a 4-hour lower high. So the bulls will have a lot of work to do on oil to change that momentum. Natural gas. So natural gas has been on a tear over the last couple of weeks. I would call anything above 2848 a daily higher low. We can see the 4-hour time frame is potentially shaping up for a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern. If we were to hold 2954 here, bounce, fail to break the high of 310, and then roll over, that would tell us more significant daily consolidation is coming. So that's something to be watching in the short term. And 2954 support is being tested at the moment. So Bitcoin's seen a fairly decent momentum shift. And really all that momentum shift is daily consolidation. Inside bar bear break. We bounced right off the daily 12-period EMA support so far. And that EMA 12 support is going to be our guide. Because ever since we broke this month-long equilibrium bullish and saw massive follow-through, we've been holding that level. So it'll be very notable to me if that level is lost. I did stop out of a third of my swing position on Bitcoin this morning, and I was playing off of the low of the reaction from this 14,000 break. We broke 14,000 and we quickly flushed down to 13,590. So I put a third of my stop, especially after we held it here again at 13,630. I put a third of my position stop loss right under that level. You can see we broke it, back tested and rejected from it. And we currently have another hourly bounce underway. And we'll need to see an hourly trend change back to the bulls to have confidence that this daily EMA 12 support can hold this initial test. For me personally, now that I have some more capital freed up by being stopped out in the 13,500s, I will either just sit in my remaining position if we see continuation, and the only way I'm going to add back is first 4-hour oversold conditions, and that's something I'm keeping an eye out for. So aside from that, plays I'm watching today, TAN solar sector, definitely going to remain on watch. And that is because this daily consolidation and weekly consolidation remains very healthy. We're going to be looking to test the high of Friday this morning. If we reject from that high at 70.85, it's just an hourly lower high, and we'll look for a tightening range. There is the potential that today we could see a lot of inside bars forming on the daily time frame, and we know that when that happens, we keep an eye out for the potential of shorter term time frames like the 5-minute time frame being a bit choppy. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that possibility. But the weekly consolidation in TAN and JKS I look at JKS on the daily, and yes, we pulled back massively from that high, but look at the volume dropping off, and look at the bears not really getting a whole lot of follow through on these bear breaks. So again, that has me shift perspective and keep an eye out for a shift in momentum back to those bulls. So TAN and JKS are going to be on watch. NIO is a major blue sky bull, just showing off this morning with a huge move up. That's going to be a back burner trade where we watch for the first 5-minute oversold conditions to be looking to set an hourly higher low. And DKNG, I know a lot of people are watching for an oversold bounce there. It's still remaining very weak. I would be very cautious and very patient because time and time again over the last 2 weeks, the bulls have just failed to prove anything to us. Let's get into tickers from member requests, and we'll start it off with Apple. So Apple, again, we know the bigger picture is, can we form a weekly higher low and remain in an equilibrium? And looking at it on the daily perspective, we are, actually let's look at the hourly first. So the hourly chart, we know nothing was really changing here. And the bulls aren't proving anything to us on this bounce. And we need to see all of our tech sector names, Apple, Google, Amazon, and who else? Facebook. They all need to set their bottom from their bearish earnings reactions. Google had a bullish earnings reaction, but it did get pulled down with everybody else. But we need these major tech sector names to give us a bottom. And right now they're not doing so. What I would need to see for Apple to prove something to me this morning, hold the low of Friday, 107.72, and break the high of pre-market. And then we would say, okay, we got some bullish momentum on Apple in the short term. Pretty much every major name that had those earnings and bearish reaction on Friday, they just want to see a daily inside bar. Their goal is to stop the bleeding and hold the low of Friday. Uber. So Uber looking at a daily lower high of 34.94 is the most important resistance. We did have a little double bottom on Friday at 33.16. So bulls would love to hold 33.16 and make their way back up to try and break 34.94, because right now this bounce is obviously a very weak bounce and it could absolutely be a bear flag, and the burden of proof is on the bulls to try and regain the momentum in their favor. This weekly consolidation, there's no major red flags here. If we were to break 32.89, that would increase the red flags for the bulls. That's a double bottom at the moment, and if that support level breaks, we zoom out to the monthly, and our monthly lower high will be set in this equilibrium that has been playing out for a year at this point, a little bit less than that, 9 months. Equilibrium tightening up, and if 32.90 breaks, 32.89, then we look down to 28.48 as the key monthly support to try and remain in that monthly equilibrium. DKNG, again, the bear momentum has just been very, very strong. And if you look at these 4-hour, 12-period EMA resistance, we get over it sometimes, but only in extended hours. Once the bell rings, we're nowhere near getting over this level in any convincing way. And we just look back at last week. And last week, Monday rejected from it, Tuesday rejected under it, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all rejected from it. That is a clear guide for me in the short term, and I can convincingly say if we are not over the 4-hour EMA 12 resistance on DKNG, then the bulls have proven absolutely nothing on any bounce. Once we get over that level, we will zoom out and we will look for a daily lower high to then be the most likely scenario on that bounce. But step number 1 is getting over 4-hour EMA 12. 34.90 is support, 36.02 and 38.18 are resistances. If the bulls make a move up to start this morning, again, daily inside bar is entirely possible because Friday was a very wide range and we are fairly close to being in the middle of that range. GEO, private prison play. We're scouting a daily lower high to be set on this bounce, and obviously this sector is going to have a massive reaction to the election. In my opinion, the reaction will be much more significant if Trump were to win. This is a short squeeze waiting to happen if Trump were to be able to surprise and pull out the victory. And if Trump does not win and if Biden wins, I think a lot of that Biden win is priced in just with the fact that we dropped 35% in the last month after already being in a many-month downtrend. So this is just an oversold bounce at the moment, and we're watching daily 12-period EMA resistance and 9-10 resistance, and we're watching for a loss of the hourly uptrend to indicate that our daily lower high has been set. 875 is our last hourly higher low from the end of the day on Friday. BLNK. Daily inside bar on Friday, bulls trying to break it bullish with a gap up open. We have 819 resistance going to be tested first thing, and if 819 breaks, then we are beginning to shift from the possibility of a daily bear flag, and then that bear flag will become a lot less likely, but we will still be looking for a daily lower high. The bulls are hoping for a weekly higher low to be set. That's a really nice weekly equilibrium, but we know that we have to see, same as all the other names looking for weekly higher lows, we have to see a big enough bounce on the daily to give the space to set up the daily trend change to give us the weekly higher low. Tesla. So Tesla had a solid bounce on Friday. Have we changed the hourly trend during regular trading hours? If we can break 393.48 after the bell rings, you could say so. But again, here's another name where even if we start strong and we make our way towards 400, anything under 407.86 is just a daily inside bar. So that resistance level is, let's see, $15 away. So we're talking 3.5% from where we stand right now to resistance. And if we fail to break that resistance, we watch for a daily inside bar. Hourly support is 382. And we know next time we bounce, the most important daily resistance will be 430.50 because anything under that level will be a daily lower high. But one time frame at a time, let's see if the bulls can get some hourly trend momentum in their favor from that bounce that started at the end of last week. TWLO. So daily downtrend, the lower lows aren't getting a ton of follow through, which means start scouting for a weekly higher low to be set as that EMA 12 support is approaching. Hourly time frame, anything under 289.79, I would just call an hourly lower high. So on a name that's set up like this, we have to see if we fail the high of Friday, have to hold the low of Friday, and then at the end of the day, as I said, in the most bullish scenario for individual names, confirm an hourly trend change and close at the high of the day to show that momentum shift. Anything aside from that, and the bears are going to keep their confident control. So anything under 289.79 is just an hourly lower high to start the day. SPCE, also looking for a weekly higher low to try and form. It's also in a monthly equilibrium. Most important weekly support for me is 1486. And we're still a good bit above that level. So the hourly downtrend will be our short-term guide. We've got one resistance level at 1777 and another at 1813 right behind it. And again, same thing. If we fail to break the high of yesterday this morning and we start consolidating on the hourly time frame, we're going to watch for it to be a daily inside bar shaping up. If we see weakness after 1702 support, there's a gap to fill down to 1647, which would be a short-term target if 1702 were to break. A. So A is also looking for a weekly higher low. Weekly EMA 12 support has held the last few periods of consolidation, and we're touching it and currently holding it again at the moment. Bullish reversal candle on Friday, trying to get some follow through. 103.06 is short-term resistance. If the bulls can break that level, the daily bounce will be underway, and we'll be looking for a lower high compared to 106.66. Again, like everybody else, can the bulls bounce enough on the daily to set up the daily trend change to try and set the weekly higher low? The biggest difference here with A is the fact that it's still in a very strong weekly uptrend where we have other names like SPY and QQQ that are in a weekly equilibrium. Amazon. So can Amazon form a weekly higher low? That's the question. 2871 is the most important support level. Can we find a bottom to the bearish earnings reaction? This is a very weak bounce at this point at the end of Friday, and I would call anything under the high of Friday, 3167, as just an hourly lower high. So what I would have to see for the Amazon bulls to prove something to me is see bullish action this morning, top out under the high of Friday, which would be the most likely scenario, consolidate in the afternoon, hold the low of Friday, and then break the high of the day at that point, confirming an hourly trend change. Again, that is ideal scenario for the bulls on how to shape up today, and anything less than that keeps the bears confident with the hourly trend in their favor. JKS, so again, definitely keeping an eye on this name with the solar sector. We are seeing bear breaks with a lack of follow through. We have a higher open this morning, but if we fail to break that high of Friday, 60.81, we will remain a bit range bound. We're going to test 60.81 first thing. If we reject from it, we look for an hourly higher low to form compared to 56.22. Again, same thing. If we can't break the high of Friday, we need to hold the low of Friday and then break those resistances into the end of the day to confirm an hourly trend change and to be setting up a weekly higher low attempt on JKS. Definitely worth watching TAN, the solar sector ETF, if you are trading JKS. AC Air Canada. So first thing, whenever I look at this ticker, I want to see what the overall sector is doing. So I look at Jets, and I can see Jets had a double top Thursday, Friday, and we're going to be testing that level first thing. So I know that the sector has a key level that it's going to be testing. And I can see that AC has a little bit weaker of a bounce attempt comparative to the US names. And looking at the hourly trend, we will call anything under, I would call anything under 1511 an hourly lower high. Have to set up the hourly trend change. We have been in a clear hourly downtrend all of last week. That has to change. Even when it does change, we just zoom out and look for a daily lower high to form because of the size of the pullback we saw last week. Bulls have a lot of proving to do. We have to change the hourly trend, we have to change the daily trend, and that takes a lot of time. So the bears have confidence as long as those trends remain in favor of the bears. SAP, also trying to find a bottom. 105.66 support is going to be tested first thing. You could definitely draw a bit of a falling wedge on this hourly time frame. Again, a scenario where bear breaks are not getting a ton of follow through. And actually, we hardly even pulled back enough Friday for a falling wedge support test. But either way, we got 105.66 support first thing. If that level were to break, we are looking at 103.22 as the next clear support level from there. And resistance, anything under 108.79, the high of Friday, means bears are keeping their complete control. This is a pattern where we're watching the lower high everyday pattern, and as long as that is intact, we know that the bulls have not set a temporary bottom to that bearish earnings reaction. BIGC, bears in absolute control with 70.20 key support approaching. And we need an hourly trend change. Anything this morning under 79.66 is an hourly lower high. We would then have to hold 72.56 and change the hourly trend into the afternoon. Have to hold 70.20 for this equilibrium to continue shaping up. That is the level for this week. PLUG, not seeing any solar sector love with NIO. Higher open shaping up, 1481, most important short-term resistance as the high of Friday. We are looking for a weekly higher low, just like the solar sector is looking for a weekly higher low. We've definitely seen similarities between EV and solar, and their weekly consolidation the last 3 weeks, definitely similar. So we need a daily trend change to be setting up, to be looking for that weekly higher low. And to see a daily trend change try and set up, we have to change the hourly trend as step number one. And we got a pattern right now of a lower high every day last week. Bulls have to break 1481 for that pattern to try and break. XBI, biotech sector, one of the major sectors that is keeping the weekly consolidation fairly healthy. Again, just the fact that we hit a new all-time high before this consolidation is different than SPY and QQQ for that reason. Daily time frame, we dropped to a lower low on Friday. You could consider this an hourly trend change because we had the low of Friday, high of Friday bounce, which was just a lower high, double bottom at the end of Friday, and now we're breaking that resistance. But again, like most names, that high of Friday is going to be a key resistance level in the short term, and that is 115.22. If the bulls can break 115.22 to start this week, the odds that we can set a weekly higher low will certainly increase, and like most individual names, we need a daily trend change to set up for that weekly higher low to be established. WKHS has just completely lost all bull momentum and has been giving a good number of red flags. That being said, we are approaching a lot of previous price support down here. 1455, 1336 are two levels to be watching. We closed near the low of the day on Friday. The market is giving us a little bit of a higher open, but again, anything under 1704, just a daily lower high. If we fail that level this morning, best case for the bulls, midday consolidation, break resistance into the close, closing strong, but wide range on Friday, over 10%, and we are right in the middle of that range. So again, we got to be watching for the potential of daily inside bars on a lot of names. ACB. So again, this name, if you're trading this name bullish, you are certainly trading against the odds. There is a potential falling wedge forming on the daily, but as long as this name is trading, there are going to be bears that continually try and short every bounce attempt because of the dilution this name sees. So currently on this daily bounce, anything under 498 is a daily lower high. Short-term support, I would call anything above 388 an hourly higher low. We did not set a clear hourly higher low on the Friday afternoon bounce last week. And you better believe that bears are going to be waiting to watch 498 resistance to be looking for a potential bearish entry. And of course, the election reaction to the MJ sector and the Canadian MJ sector is going to determine whether this falling wedge breaks bullish or whether we just set another daily lower high, keeping this prolonged, strong daily downtrend intact. GBTC anticipating a lower open with the Bitcoin weakness. Bitcoin's trying this hourly bounce. But GBTC, daily consolidation will likely be underway. 1450 is a support level, and then 1388. And Bitcoin's holding the daily 12-period EMA support, so GBTC bulls want to see that hold as well, and that will be around 1440 or so with the open today. And we'll look for any bounce from this open to just be giving us an hourly lower high. But we'll have to see where that open takes us with no pre-market trading on the OTC. ASLM, or ASML. So here are the bulls attempting a daily trend change to try and set a weekly higher low. We have the low, a solid bounce looking for a daily lower high. That lower high was set. And if we can now hold 357 support and break 374 resistance, I'm rounding a little bit there, that would confirm a daily trend change and increase the odds significantly that a weekly higher low is being set. So I care about 359 support and 373.80 resistance as the most important levels. If I'm looking shorter term, the bulls certainly want to break the high of Friday, 365.83 first thing, but I care more about that high of that bounce on Thursday. ADBE, weekly support is already broken, confirmed weekly downtrend. So now we zoom out and we look for a monthly higher low, keeping in mind that we have tons of space for this monthly consolidation to remain fairly healthy overall. Best case scenario for the bulls would be a break of weekly support with no follow through. But like everybody else, we need hourly trend changes, and right now the bears still have complete control. Anything under 459.50 is an hourly lower high. Even when we change the hourly trend to the bulls, we are just looking for a daily lower high to be set. Bulls have a lot of work to do. And again, best case would be a green week after a key weekly support break. And we can say that it's certainly a very similar setup to SPY and QQQ and all these other names, but it's more bearish considering we have already broken support where those other names have not. PEIX with some massive consolidation over the past couple of weeks, closing in on first daily oversold conditions. Bulls need to break 638 and 654 to start shifting this momentum. But again, we're just looking for a daily lower high next bounce. This is one of those names where you watch the pattern of a lower high every single day for 8 days in a row. And if the bulls can't break 638 today, that pattern remains intact and the bulls prove absolutely nothing. And again, like everybody else, we need a big enough bounce on the daily to set up a daily trend change to try and set a weekly higher low after some pretty significant consolidation from that high. TTD. So TTD is also looking for a weekly higher low with lots of space for the bulls to form it. Big bear day on Friday. Tons of space for lower highs to form. First resistance level is 579.36. And if the bulls break 539.70, make that 579.36 to start the morning, odds of a daily inside bar will increase because that high is extremely far away. We're not going to anticipate breaking the high of Friday today. Bulls just want to position themselves to be able to hold the low of Friday to try and put a stop to the clear, significant leg down that was seen on Friday. So again, bigger picture perspective, there are no red flags on this weekly time frame at this point, but certainly some bearish momentum in the short term with how we ended Friday. NAIL, some home builders looking for, nope, we lost weekly support. So look at this monthly chart now. Monthly equilibrium shaping up. High, low, lower high, and we now look for a monthly higher low compared to 476. Pattern of a lower high every single day for the last 10 days. That is all I care about in the short term. If the bulls are unable to break 42.69 today, they prove absolutely nothing to us. 38.65 is support, and next level would be 35.60. Whenever you see that pattern start to string together 7, 8, 9 in a row candles of a lower high every candle, that takes priority as the most important short-term factor for me. Snap little daily bull flag, unable to break resistance, and then a loss of daily support which means zoom out and watch for the potential of weekly consolidation to begin. This hourly bounce is not strong. If 38.79 support breaks, then weekly consolidation will be underway. As far as daily supports, we're in an area with a lack of clear daily supports. After 38.79, we're looking to 36.86 as the next level from there. We already hit hourly oversold conditions a couple times, so that's a bit less meaningful now that it's happened a few times after that massive bull move. Just like everybody else, hourly trend change back to the bulls is needed for some proof of strength. BITF on the TSX, high of Friday, 55 cents. Resistance first thing. After 55, we look to 59, and our hourly high or low to keep the bulls in full control is 51. So here's the open. I do still have a bearish position from, I think I entered it last Thursday. It's a bit of a hedge position for me in SPXS using the leveraged inverse ETF. And I will exit that position if and when the SPY bulls confirm an hourly trend change during regular trading hours. That's the proof that I need to exit that position. So there's a whole lot of green on the screen to start the morning. It's the financial sector and the healthcare sector that are leading the way. QQQ is certainly a bit weaker than those other two sectors. As far as individual names are concerned, Netflix is shaping up as one of the weaker tech names, at least initially. And we're watching NIO profit taking for first 5-minute oversold conditions, and we'll see if we can get a bounce off of that as that first 5-minute oversold is approaching. A break of 38 psychological would certainly get us there. Keeping an eye on the MJ sector. CGC off to a good start. Certainly going to be watching that sector closely this week. Inside bar bull breaks on CGC. Resistance is 1930 and then 1972. And USMJ is off to a good start as well. Seeing most names up roughly 3%. We'll see if they can hold those gains as we're only 1 minute into the trading day. But a solid start to the MJ sector responding to the broader market bounce. The question is, can we change hourly trends during regular trading hours for proof from the bulls when there is real volume at stake? JMIA. Going to continue running through these tickers. So JMIA is quickly heading to the low of Friday, and that support is 1470. So again, bulls are not proving anything to us on the hourly time frame. If we can hold 1470 and break the high of pre-market 1579, that'll start to prove something. But for right now, with the weakness this morning, bulls are just hoping for a daily inside bar, which means holding 1470 support. If that level breaks, the next support is 1415. BEEM. Daily inside bar on Friday, we are right near resistance. If the bulls are going to break that inside bar bullish convincingly, 1637 and 1646 need to break. Very healthy weekly consolidation. It's a potential weekly bull flag. And if those little daily resistances do break, then the odds of a weekly bull flag will increase. Anything above 1570 is an hourly high or low. CURLF, so USMJ. And we're already over the high of the bounce from last week. And I'm looking at CURA, key $13 psychological resistance. And for CURLF, that's 988. So those are the key resistances for the bulls to try and see daily continuation. And they're in play today, but we would have to see the bulls keep control for most of today for those to be tested. So CGC, decent start, but we didn't get a whole lot of momentum through 1930 resistance. For CGC, the daily time frame, what the bulls need to be cautious of is a head and shoulders, where this is the left shoulder, here's the head. If we fail 2044 and then roll over and lose 1811 support, which would pretty much require a bearish reaction to the sector for the election, that would be obviously a very significant loss of momentum for the bulls. But right now, I consider anything under 2044 just a daily lower high. Let's see what kind of bull volume the MJ sector can show up with today. And obviously, it's a solid start. And the more the broader market can hold its gains, the more that's going to help the sector. And here's that new high of the day. So again, that next resistance, 1972. Snap. So snap with a big flush first thing. And that low of Friday is already in play. 38.79 is a double bottom to the penny. If that level were to break, 36.86 is the next level. So we're going to need a solid bounce and a 5-minute trend change back to the bulls if we're going to have confidence that the low of Friday can hold. That is the battleground going on at the moment. CRM. Daily inside bar, very snugly within a wide range. Failed to break the high of Friday, at least initially, and now we're looking down at support 229.50 and 228.66. Bulls need to hold those levels to try and put a stop to this pullback. And again, it's the ideal scenario is pull back, hold the low of Friday, and then into the end of the day or the second half of today, see a new high of today, break the high of Friday, and confirm that momentum shift. PYPO. Very wide range on Friday, and we are right in the middle of it. So I can say right now that the odds of a daily inside bar for PayPal are extremely high. It looks like we have earnings today. I believe that's today after hours. Double check me on that. So I'm looking at the low of Friday. This current bounce, I would consider anything under 195.33, an hourly lower high. And then we would look for a pullback and an hourly higher low compared to 182.92 to see a tightening hourly range within a very wide range from Friday. Already did TTD. We'll look at that and check back in just a second. SU on the TSX. Daily bounce underway. Anything under 1661 is just a daily lower high. As far as hourly support, on the Canadian side, 1493 is our hourly higher low. Bulls need to see enough bounce follow through on the daily here to set up the daily trend change attempt. SSYS, right in the middle of a large range from Friday's candle. I would consider anything under 1330 an hourly lower high. So many individual names have the same hourly setup to start this morning. So again, if we fail high of Friday, 1330, we need to pull back, hold the low of Friday, and then try and work on the hourly trend change from there. SPY is not doing a whole lot this morning initially, and we are seeing XLF is giving back some of that initial morning strength. So looking at our main sector's hourly trends, XLF has a ton of space to work with to maintain an hourly higher low. QQQ must hold 267.07 and form an hourly higher low compared to that level. And the biotech sector does stand out as the only red name on my screen. I guess Penn is red as well. DKNG is trying to get that bounce going. High of Friday will be key resistance, 38.18. At least the initial bullish start this morning is giving bulls space above that low of Friday support. CGC is continuing that morning march. Good start. Potential for increasing bull volume this second candle. That would definitely stand out to me if the bulls can pull that off. INTC. So INTC, a big drop first thing on a gap up open. So the daily bounce is underway, and at the moment, it is a potential daily bear flag. We have not changed the hourly trend bullish. The move came from the low of Friday. We bounced into the end of the day, and then we opened higher. If these bulls are going to prove anything to me, we have to hold 43.61 support and then break 44, make that 45.03 the high of today resistance to see follow through. Because if this is as much bounce as we see on the daily time frame, that daily bear flag will remain likely. BIGC. Actually, let's check in on TTD. bear break of the low of Friday. So any individual name that breaks its low of Friday is definitely standing out because most names are not. So next support level from here is a ways down, 532. And resistance, we had a resistance level at 579.36 from Friday, and now the high of today is a lower high compared to that level. So bears are clearly still in control of consolidation. BIGC, heading towards the low of Friday, must hold that level, 72.56. The morning strength, just an hourly lower high compared to the high of Friday. CGC increasing 5-minute volume. The second candle versus the first is very notable. Usually solid days whenever that happens for the bulls. And we are at that next resistance level. I believe it was 1974. And after that, we looked at 20 psychological, but pretty much ideal start to the week for the CGC bulls. And it is the Canadian MJ sector that's seeing a little bit more life than the US MJ sector, at least in the first 10 minutes. So let's check back in on that NIO drop first thing this morning. And we got right to 5-minute oversold conditions and a very quick 3% bounce. So again, that's why we call it the back burner trade, because it's very high probability. And it's a back burner trade because after a massive bull run, rather than chasing bullish, you know to patiently be waiting for either first 5-minute oversold or first hourly oversold conditions. And now if NIO fails to break the high of the day from here, we will have a 2-minute tightening range to be watching. Tesla, great start to the day for the bulls. Very solid follow through from that bounce Friday. Still though, a ways away, 407.59, about 1.5% away from high of Friday resistance. And if we were to head to that resistance level from here with no 5-minute consolidation, there is a potential top fish off that resistance. But a pretty solid start for the bulls as QQQ is at the high of the day, and we have our sectors going a bit inverse. XLF has been fading since the open. The open was the high of the day, and QQQ is now $1 above its open. So we had a little bit of inverse action going on where XLV and XLF started the morning as the leaders. They've been fading since the open, and QQQ is now bouncing. So we're going to continue monitoring those three sectors. We know if the bulls want full steam ahead, we want all three of those sectors at the high at the same time. If the bears want to prove something, we need all our sectors at the low at the same time. And if they're going inverse to each other, then we know we don't have full-on conviction in whatever direction we are going. Solar sector TAN is off to a good start, up almost 2% on the day. NIO bulls new all-time high during regular trading hours. So a complete recovery from that initial sell-off. And now 34.46, the high of pre-market, is the most important resistance level for NIO. So TAN resistance from here, the high of Friday, 70.24. We broke it by a couple pennies, not convincing. After 70.24 though, 73.08 is then the most important. Actually, no, 71.36 is then the most important resistance level. So SPY bears are keeping control, and there is no reason for me to exit my hedge position right now, as XLF and XLV are both at their low of the day at the same time. And all it's going to take is QQQ losing a little bit of momentum, and then the bears will have some solid control again. Let's check in on XLV and where its hourly support is. Plenty of space. So both XLV and XLF, even though we are pulling back since the bell has rung, they both have plenty of space to be looking for an hourly higher low to form. Let's check on JKS. Strong start with the solar sector, and JKS already breaking the high of Friday And now we're looking at 62.37 as the next resistance level. Checking back in on CGC volume, and they're still keeping up that momentum up at the high of the day. Very strong volume start. So we know the SPY bulls are going to have to change the 5-minute trend back in their favor if we're going to consider an hourly higher low to be set compared to the low of Friday, 322.60. We certainly have tons of space above that support level. So we are going to be anticipating that SPY, XLF, and XLV all will most likely be able to give us hourly higher lows this morning or this afternoon. Tesla still marching onward, approaching that 407 resistance. High of today, got about 1% away at this point. So for most of today, I personally am just going to be watching the USMJ sector and watching SPY, where those are my swing positions, determining if I should cut my hedge short if the bulls prove some momentum to me today. And the size of my USMJ swings that I have remaining, I will probably swing through the election. I've taken enough profit to make me comfortable to do so at this point. NIO going for 35 psychological. So bulls were all over that first dip. When you gap up like that from all-time highs, or even when it's not all-time highs, you assume there's going to be profit taking. The question on how the day goes or how the morning goes is, do the bulls buy that dip? And obviously the answer here is yes, they bought it aggressively. And we've now gone almost 6% from that low of the day. I want to see exactly where that 5-minute RSI got down to. So I changed the settings on my indicator from, instead of being the close, I look to the low. And it did not quite hit 30. So that means bulls were ready and waiting. And we could say that the bulls front ran first 5-minute oversold conditions by jumping in quick and not allowing that to happen. Pretty decent bounce for XLF and XLV off their lows. So both of those sectors are very clearly trading in unison. And it definitely looks inverse to QQQ. This relationship between these three sectors could absolutely change at any point, but for right now, that's the way that it's going. Zooming in on Tesla to see if there's a shorter term time frame as a guide for the morning strength. And we're not consolidating anywhere. Every 2-minute candle is a higher low since the low of the day. So certainly we can say that Tesla has a bullish correlation to QQQ. They both started the morning strong, but while QQQ has been pulling back for the last 5+ minutes, Tesla has not. QQQ trying to set a quick 5-minute higher low, which again would favor the bulls in the sense that if QQQ can hit a new high of the day from here and XLV and XLF are not hitting a new low, And then we know that relationship between the three is going to be favoring the bulls. And at the moment, QQQ is attempting a 5-minute bull flag. The daily bounces on XLF and XLV to this point pretty much are ensuring that those sectors are not going to break their weekly supports unless the market dumps on the election result. And I say that because right now, XLF, if we were going to break weekly support, we would have to drop almost 5%. And while XLV did technically break weekly support last Friday, we only broke it by, 0.3% or so. So it's pretty much a double bottom. CGC bulls staying strong. They're trying for a 5-minute bull flag as well. Tesla's up at the high of the day. So when I'm determining whether I want to top fish Tesla resistance or not, I'm looking first at the 5-minute time frame, and I see, yeah, it's overextended. And then I look at the 2-minute time frame, and I say, have we consolidated? And the answer is no. So I would be more inclined to be top fishing resistance with some wiggle room because of this 2-minute time frame. If we were stair-stepping up with little bull flags and cooling off RSI, I would be much less inclined to take that top fish. But the way that I play a top fish like this, clearly in the face of significant bullish strength, is, I make my entry. Let's say I make my entry at 405.50 and I've got a stop at 407.50. Ideally, I'd want to give a little bit more wiggle room than that. High of Friday, 407.59. Yeah, so I would want my stop over 408.50. But I look to take half profit quickly because that allows me to be a lot more comfortable. So if we go up to 405.50, let's say I enter an initial short, and then if from there we start 2-minute consolidation, I will exit half of my short on that 2-minute consolidation, knowing that we are going to form a 2-minute high or low next time we consolidate. It's just a question of whether or not the bulls are able to break this resistance on the first attempt, as it is quickly approaching. QQQ back to the high of the day. So again, the fact that it is at the high of the day and our inverse sectors from the first 15 minutes are not at their lows shows us some bull shift. Not to be confused with bull, you know what. And now I'm watching XLF and XLV. Can they make it back to the high of the day? We're setting up for 5-minute equilibriums. If they cannot, we've seen enough bounce off the low to be watching for potential 5-minute tightening ranges. And we know it'll be best case scenario for the market bulls if all of our sectors hit high of the day at the same time. If that were to happen, I would definitely exit my bearish hedge position as well. CH or CWH. So CWH was a gap and go. We gapped up, pulled back quickly, pretty much similar to NIO. First 5-minute, little brief consolidation right into continuation, clearing 28.68, opens the floodgates. As soon as you clear 28.68, anybody that has gone short in the last 6 weeks is underwater. And then as soon as you clear 28.68, actually it's 28.71 right here, but after that there's no resistance, no clear resistance until 31.58. So it's just bulls surging through resistance. Bears had been comfortable for a long time, and that obviously is no longer the case, so it is definitely a little bit of a short squeeze on earnings reaction. Let's check back in on Bitcoin. Solid bounce at this point. We are just looking for an hourly lower high, but we're a few $100 off the low of the dump at this point, and it's a good initial reaction off that daily 12-period EMA. Again, we need to change that hourly trend back to the bulls to be confident that that level can keep holding. So QQQ and the tech sector leading the charge. Amazon showing us a little bit of relative weakness. To hit a new low of the day, while Facebook is surging, Netflix high of the day, Apple's trying for a 5-minute bull flag. So Amazon is definitely standing out as much weaker on the 5-minute time frame versus all of its major tech sector peers. That doesn't mean Amazon's going to drop, because we know as long as the entire sector stays strong, it's going to help the Amazon bulls. But we can certainly say that the Amazon bulls are not positioned nearly as well as other names if we were to see any tech sector weakness or tech sector hourly consolidation. NIO is looking for a 5-minute high or low, anything above 33.04. IWM. So IWM had a solid open. We broke the high of Friday, but only by 3 pennies. So I'm calling that a double top with the high of Friday. And we really need to clear 155.79 because that puts us back in daily gap fill territory if that level breaks. So 155.79 is the most important short-term resistance level for me. And again, the important question for IWM is the question we have for XLV and XLF. Can we see a new high of the day, or do we have to see tightening 5-minute ranges with a rejection from the high of the day? XLF is starting to stand out a little bit weaker. Not much, but the XLV bounce a bit more convincing. XLF is 0.5% away from the high of the day, and XLV is maybe 0.2% away, less, 0.1. So again, Amazon is not positioned well for any, even just 5-minute consolidation on QQQ to look for a higher low. It's likely going to drive Amazon to new lows. Tesla rejection. Took my eye off it. So we rejected from resistance by 60 cents, and we pulled back over $2.50. So again, if I make that bearish entry, I am definitely, even if I'm just, locking in $1 to $2 of profit, that then puts the remaining half of my position essentially in a break-even or worst-case tiny loss scenario. And if I'm playing against significant momentum, whether it's an oversold bounce or top fishing a resistance level, I always want to keep that risk as small as possible because I know the probabilities of getting stopped out are higher. It's just that the risk reward is so favorable that even if you get stopped out 3 out of 4 attempts, that one attempt makes up for it due to the size of the gain versus the small losses. Tesla bears would love to see a break of 404. Again, we would still be looking for a 2-minute high or low, but the odds of a 2-minute bull flag would decrease a bit if 404 support can break here. If 404 support holds, odds that we break high of Friday, definitely high. Amazon on the verge of going red as QQQ is seeing a bit of consolidation. So again, just not positioned well. NIO 5-minute high or low attempt, not officially set yet, but the bulls are hoping 34.06 is that 5-minute high or low. CGC trying for healthy 5-minute consolidation as well. No red flags there at the moment. TCNNF, USMJ, nice bull break. We have a very key resistance test there. TRUL has already broken it. It was $32. And I always look at the Canadian and US listed names because sometimes the Canadian side will have a psychological resistance level. 24.24 is the level on the US side. Not a convincing break just yet, but solid start to the week. High of the day test on XLV. And we have not seen our major sectors at their highs at the same time much this morning. And that is standing out to me because, again, that's when bulls are most confident. And the fact that it's taking some pretty notable pullback on QQQ here while XLV is testing the high of the day and while XLF is not close. Although, what was that QQQ? Huge volume on QQQ. Look at the 15-second time frame. Look at that volume. I don't know what that was. They're giving it back. Let's see if we get some kind of news headline. Whenever I'm looking to see if a spike is real or not, the 15-second time frame and the volume on it, very odd. But a quick spike and then gave it right back. So 5-minute consolidation underway. 271.94. 5-minute support on QQQ. And that QQQ consolidation could not have come at a better time for Tesla top fishing bears. Tesla has now pulled back $5 from its high of the day, over 1%. And if I'm in a top fishing play at this point, I have zero risk. Stop goes over the high of the day, taking enough profit to make it a break-even scenario if I do get stopped out. And just really nice timing for those bears. So XLV is at the high of the day. It is now establishing itself as the lead bull, and XLF joined. XLF is at the high of the day as well. So we still have that inverse action going on. QQQ, 10 minutes of pullback, while our other two sectors hit their highs. SPY high of pre-market resistance is approaching 332.12. Compared to where we were at the end of last week, that was one of the most bearish weeks that we've seen since the dump low. And to start the week like this, it's definitely a victory for the bulls. Odds increase that the weekly higher lows can hold. Again, it will be the election reaction that determines whether that's the case or not, but to start the week like this rather than just continued free fall is giving the bulls cushion in terms of space to be working with. I would consider XLF a double top right now at its high of the day. XLV broke its high of the day by 20-some cents. XLF only broke its high of the day by less than 1 penny, so that is a double top. For Tesla, we are just looking for a 5-minute high or low. There's no red flags on the 5-minute consolidation. But as soon as that 404 level broke on Tesla, bull flag was no longer the most likely scenario. Now the question is, can the Tesla bulls hold on to keep this 5-minute consolidation favoring continuation, or do we pull back and break under 400 and then start favoring a 5-minute equilibrium? And IO giving back a lot of this move. There is a play off the low of the day, but already we can say the size of the pullback from the high of the day is definitely more than the bulls would like to see here. And it's big enough that even if we hold the low of the day 33 support initially, we will just be looking for a 5-minute lower high compared to 34.94 on the next bounce. OSTK. Big old bull move out of the gate. Most important daily support level was 61. That broke on the earnings reaction to end last week. Trying for a 5-minute bull flag, but I would consider anything under 65.84 just an hourly lower high. The bounce is definitely significant enough that if we fail 65.84, it'll be an hourly lower high, and there'll be plenty of space to be looking for an hourly higher low compared to 56.11, but that high of Friday is still a ways away. XLF high of the day test again, trying to eliminate that double top by getting some follow through. So now I'm going to look back at the S&P 500 futures chart just to see where we stand there. And it's a solid daily bounce. We're certainly looking for a daily lower high, but it is a hold of weekly support at the moment, and it will require a solid bear reaction to the election to break that weekly support. At this point, we would need to drop 3.5%. Certainly possible. Tesla heading down towards 400 psychological. And again, just one more review on Tesla. It was the 2-minute being a rocket ship. We call it a waterfall when it's an oversold bounce play. And again, it's just the lack of stairs stepping up. It's just the extreme overextended move on multiple time frames. The more time frames that can line up as overextended, the more confidence I have in a top fish or bottom fish play. And QQQ is giving it back. We are definitely going inverse with XLV and XLF. Amazon is not positioned well for that. If QQQ holds the low of the day here, I'm going to be switching to the 15-minute time frame for clarity. 5-minute time frame losing a little bit of its... Well, actually, look at that support. The 5-minute higher low on QQQ was 271.94, and we did just hold that by 2 pennies. CGC short-term support is 1952. If the bulls are going to keep complete control, they need to hold on to that level. TAN solar sector bulls keeping their momentum with a new high of the day. JKS doing the same. Healthy consolidation for the solar sector on the weekly time frame heading into the election. MMEDF. So this is one of those mushroom plays, low volume. So solid day, but we have to break the high of Friday, 85.17, to prove something. In the short term, we know we're looking for a weekly higher low, bigger picture, but on this current bounce attempt, anything under 107 is just a daily lower high. So like many individual names, we need to see a big enough bounce on the daily to favor the daily trend change to try and set a weekly higher low. If bulls fail to break 85.17 today and again tomorrow, we have to be cautious of a daily bear flag. It's up to the bulls right now to break 85.17 to try and negate that daily bear flag on this bounce attempt. And of course, support will be the low of consolidation to this point. 72 cents is the most important level. Tesla is still comparatively much stronger than QQQ. We are looking for that 5-minute higher low. Bear volume is dropping off a bit. NIO trying to hold its low of the day. Definitely would be a red flag for Tesla bulls if NIO sees a new low of the day. They're not tick for tick correlated, but there's definitely interaction between all these EV names, electric vehicle names. And obviously if QQQ sees a new low of the day, it's a red flag for market bulls in general. QQQ has been pulling back for 15 minutes. Look at NIO. Started to pull back a little bit sooner, but definitely correlation between the EV names and QQQ. Let's check back in on DKNG. Certainly more burden of proof on the shoulders of the bulls on this name than many others after the weakness the last 3 weeks. It's a 5-minute equilibrium. Bulls must hold 35.87 to remain in this tightening 5-minute range, but bears already had a successful top fish. And this bounce is not proving a whole lot at the moment on DKNG. CGC lost 1952 support. So now I'm going to use the 15-minute time frame. Poor dog Sweetie Pants. Nobody told her about this fake human time clock change. I'm supposed to be done live streaming 40 minutes ago as far as she's concerned. I'm going to let her out. Give me a moment. Solar sector getting some solid follow through. Again, for TAN, that level is 71.36, which is the most important short-term resistance. JKS, that solid bull volume in the last 20 minutes definitely stands out on that new high of the day. Daily chart, next level is 63.20. But again, this bull move is definitely showing us a shift in momentum. You look at the consolidation the last 4 days. The question is that our weekly higher low being set? We will need a lot of follow through. We will need a daily trend change. But bulls are certainly liking the shift in momentum initially, and TAN seeing the same thing. We had support on TAN 68.17. We broke it by 40-some cents. We then broke that level by 30-some cents. So those are bear breaks with no follow through. And now the bulls are shifting that momentum to attempt a bull break. Whenever you get bull breaks with no follow through or bear breaks with no follow through, it's your initial clue to start shifting, to be looking in the other direction. I believe JKS just broke resistance. Now we've got 65.75 as the next level. Highest volume candle of the day happening at 10:12, 10:10 a.m. Definitely stands out. Your most common pattern is the highest volume candles in the first 5-10 minutes of trading. And anytime anything else happens, it is notable. QQQ, solid bounce. Certainly helping Tesla bounce. 5-minute higher low set on Tesla. Most important short-term support now, 480. 480 cents. Little bit of a red flag on NIO. The fact that Tesla and QQQ are bouncing and NIO is at the low of this pullback. Definitely not helping the bulls be comfortable. Low of the day support is still in play. XLV consolidating while QQQ bounces. So we just got this little game of musical chairs going on as far as very short-term action where one sector is bullish, then the other two will go bullish. What is standing out to me on this current last 10 minutes, XLF is trying for a 5-minute bull flag. XLV, also a potential 5-minute bull flag still. And QQQ, the bounce is obviously way more than a bear flag would be. So again, just another little check mark favoring bulls a bit. And it's certainly going to take at least one of these major sectors breaking their low of today if we're going to see this morning strength lost. And already the fact that the bulls are holding these morning gains for the first 45 minutes of trading after how weak last week was does stand out a bit. WKHS, I would be watching for an equilibrium. Size of the pullback, so size of the bull move, size of the pullback. Anything under 1660 is a 5-minute lower high. TCNNF trying to make another move over that key 2424 daily resistance. So we're keeping an eye out for that Bitcoin hourly lower high. We're watching hourly EMA 12 resistance, which is approaching, but there is enough space at this point where the bulls can be looking for the potential of an hourly higher low compared to that bottom to try and change that trend. But we haven't topped out on the bounce just yet. Still right up near that high. SPY 5-minute bull flag being confirmed. So no red flags for bulls at this point on the morning. And the tan solar bulls are certainly thriving in this environment, as are the MJ bulls. So we can certainly call both of those sectors, which have been trading somewhat similarly to themselves or to each other the last couple months. But I would say those are two of the most clear election sectors as far as having an impact. Although I would say that the MJ sector has a little bit more bearish exposure. I would say no matter who wins, solar is going to be a winner. But a Republican Senate would definitely be bearish the MJ sector. XLF, nice follow through. XLF definitely one of the weaker sectors last week. And at this point, from the low of Thursday, XLF is up 4.5%. That's very impressive. We are right back to the middle of our tightening weekly range. And what today is doing for me is shifting probabilities just a wee bit, that we can form weekly higher lows and remain in equilibriums. Let's just say that happens. Let's say Tesla's 2-minute time frame is very nice for clarity. If we fail the high of the day, we'll have a 2-minute equilibrium to be watching. But let's just say that we have a bullish reaction to the election. These weekly equilibriums on SPY and QQQ and Apple and all our major names, they could play out through the end of the year at that point. You know, we could see a bullish reaction to the election for a week, still form a lower high, still stay in a tightening range. I would love that scenario because if we see this weekly equilibrium continue to tighten up further for another month, in my opinion, it will have a lot more clarity and I'll be able to trust the break a lot more. I would have a hard time trusting a bear break from here as far as bears getting follow through on that break. But if you give me an equilibrium that keeps tightening up and then it breaks whichever direction, It's much more believable to me. And we are close to having all our sectors at the high of the day at the same time. QQQ is testing it. XLF 5-minute bull flag confirmed. XLV 5-minute bull flag testing resistance. So one little tiny clue 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes, was the size of this QQQ 5-minute candle and the size of XLV and XLF 5-minute consolidation. And my SPXS position has done nothing but go down in value since the bell has rung. And my account is going up thanks to USMJ swings offsetting that. And it would be the opposite. If we had market weakness, my SPXS would be going up and my USMJ swings would probably be going down. But the way I've got things set up right now, I'm really liking how my account is staying stagnant, which is what I'm looking for it to do. Because again, I am going into this election in conservative mode. The account is right under all-time highs, ended Friday at all-time highs. And I want to just sit tight. Wait for a bit more short-term clarity after the election and then get back to the daily grind. QQQ potential 5-minute equilibrium failed to break the high of the day just there. Tesla 2-minute equilibrium on watch. And just watching to see if XLV can join XLF with that 5-minute confirmed bull flag, because right now it's a double top. We were right on the verge of all three sectors being at highs at the same time, but XLV and QQQ rejected, at least initially. Question in the chat room. A gapped up. Do I let my winners run or sell into strength? So honestly, ideally, that question should already be known as what your target is. Where's your stop loss and what's your target on where you're trying to sell? With how we've started this week, the odds of a weekly bull flag definitely increase. So I have no idea where your entry is or what your plan was. If anything, if this were a longer term swing position for me, I would probably take a little bit of profit into this strength, considering the fact that we are up, 5% in just over 1 day of trading, a day and an hour. But that weekly chart would definitely keep me bullish longer term at this point. We also have earnings in a couple weeks, not in play in the near term. So CGC is not seeing the ideal kind of action after that initial pop. We saw 15 minutes of all bulls, and now it's just a slow fade. So I like the 15-minute. We're looking for a 15-minute high or low. But again, not your ideal start to the morning, where we didn't even see a clear higher low and higher high on the 5-minute time frame to see follow through. Still looking for that 15-minute high or low, just not ideal. Amazon is still weak. And you can just see how anytime QQQ bounces, it hardly does anything for Amazon, but anytime QQQ pulls back, Amazon responds significantly to that weakness. And Amazon's looking at the low of Friday, which already broke actually, 3,019. So that's notable. No bottom has been set on the earnings reaction for Amazon, which to me, honestly, is even more impressive that QQQ is able to hold this strength with one of its most important individual names seeing so much weakness. But from here on Amazon, we're looking at 3,000 psychological. Keeping in mind that anything above 2871 is a weekly high or low, and that is still 4% away. TCNNF and CURLF are taking the lead in the USMJ space today, and CRLBF is right there as well. But this is the ideal start to the week for Trueleave. Another question about the voting process and how, what happens if we don't have results. If it's going to be a clear win, we will have results. And obviously, if it's not, we won't. In my opinion, the more it drags on, the more headlines will matter. The more we're going to see bots and algos reacting to any headlines that shift probabilities of who the declared winner is going to be. So for me, that just means an extended period of headline sensitivity and short-term volatility. So Tesla gave us a 5-minute lower high, whether you like it on the 2-minute or 5-minute time frame. It's clear on both. 480 cents is the key 5-minute support level at this point. And QQQ is a 5-minute equilibrium as well. So from here, I can see that if QQQ tightens up, I know I'm not going to get any short-term information from it until we get a break of this tightening range. It is a double top at the high of pre-market with QQQ, so if we get a bear break, that's going to be a clear rejection from that resistance level. So here comes a support test for both Tesla and QQQ. We've got NIO still holding its low of the day, but not entirely convincingly. That being said, when NIO does see a clear loss of momentum, we're just going to zoom out and look for an hourly higher low to form. So I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam here. 5-minute equilibrium on QQQ and Tesla. XLV is still a double top at the high of the day, but the bulls are right there. It won't take much to try and clear that level. XLF is the lead bull sector over the last half hour or so. Google lead tech bull, not surprising, as it is the only major bull that had bullish earnings reaction. And you will find that Facebook and Tesla, or nope, take that back, Facebook and Google, those two names are more correlated to each other in the tech sector than any other pairs. It's often Amazon and Apple correlated and Google and Facebook correlated stronger. We know they're all correlated to a certain degree together, but that pairing of Google and Facebook has certainly been standing out a bit more clearly to me, at least in the last few months. So I appreciate everybody tuning in out there in the public world. And this is our daily routine. And I'll go live again at 3:15 to wrap up the end of the day and do the same thing with some ticker requests and see how we're shaping up into the close. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be back in the Chart Guys chat room in 15 minutes to continue coverage.